Have you ever noticed how your mind constantly poses questions you can't answer? Like why a moment from 5 years ago still troubles you? Or whether you said the wrong thing in a conversation that's already over? Or what the next 6 months of your life will look like when you don't even know what's happening tomorrow? And then you get stuck in this odd cycle, trying to fix things that aren't broken, trying to predict things that haven't happened, trying to understand people who don't even understand themselves. It's not just exhausting, it's a trap. Because the truth is, you were never meant to figure it all out. Your brain wants to make sense of everything, but life isn't built like that. It's like trying to solve a puzzle where half the pieces don't exist yet. So you overthink, you force it, you chase the perfect answer, and all it does is keep you out of the moment you're actually living. That's why peace always feels one thought away. Because the moment you think you've got it, something changes, and you're back at square one, running through another mental maze that leads to nowhere. So if you're feeling stuck, confused, or overwhelmed right now, it's not because something's wrong with you. It's because you've been taught that certainty is safety, and that clarity is earned by thinking harder. But that's not how it works. So much of your anxiety doesn't come from what's happening. It comes from trying to interpret what's happening, trying to label it, trying to control it, trying to package it into a story that makes sense. And that's where most people get stuck, not in life itself, but in their explanation of life. You overthink a text because you're afraid of being misunderstood. You replay conversations because your self-worth is tied to how others see you. You stay up late trying to solve problems that don't exist yet because it makes you feel in control, even when you're not. The truth is, your mind's job is to protect you, but it does that by overanalyzing, predicting, problem-solving. It's like a bodyguard that doesn't know when to stand down. It mistakes peace for laziness, confuses presence with danger, assumes that if you're not doing something with your thoughts, you're falling behind. But what if you're not supposed to solve the moment you're in? What if the answer isn't to think your way out of it, but to feel your way through it? Because here's the raw truth. Life doesn't hand out gold stars for being the most mentally prepared. It rewards the ones who can stay present, the ones who can stay soft in chaos, the ones who can say, "I don't know," and still breathe fully. And that's not weakness. That's clarity. The kind that only shows up when you finally stop trying to force everything to make sense. And here's what no one tells you. Figuring it out doesn't actually make you feel better. Not for long. You solve one thing, and the next problem shows up 5 minutes later. You explain one emotion, and another one rises right after. You finally understand why something happened, and now your mind wants to know what it means for tomorrow. It never ends, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're asking your mind to do something it was never meant to do. Feel safe through knowing. But real safety doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from trusting deeper, from realizing that not knowing is not the enemy. It's the beginning of presence. When you stop trying to decode every feeling, every look someone gives you, every outcome before it unfolds, something changes. You start to feel lighter, not because life suddenly gets easier, but because you're no longer dragging around the weight of needing answers all the time. You start letting people be confused. You stop interrupting your feelings with analysis. You stop needing a lesson in every mistake. And strangely, that's when clarity starts to show up. Not forced clarity, natural clarity, the kind that rises when you finally give your mind permission to be quiet. Because here's the truth. Some of the most powerful shifts in your life won't come through thinking. They'll come when you're sitting in the middle of not knowing and you stop resisting it. You stop calling the uncertainty a problem. You stop calling your confusion failure. You stop turning every pause into a panic. And you realize you don't need to figure it all out. You just need to stop abandoning yourself when you can't. There's A kind of peace that only shows up once you stop chasing answers. Not because the answers finally arrive, but because you no longer need them to feel okay. You stop tying your worth to how much clarity you have. You stop measuring your growth by how quickly you can explain your feelings. You stop trying to fix the moment through understanding, and you begin to witness it instead. And that's where everything softens. You stop gripping. You stop bracing. You stop living like every emotion needs to be solved. Some feelings are meant to pass through, not be studied, labeled, or decoded. They don't always carry a message. Sometimes, they're just energy moving. That's it. And when you finally stop trying to organize your inner world into something clean and logical, it becomes something better. It becomes real, messy, yes, but real, alive, free. You start feeling safe inside moments that used to make you spiral. Not because you figured them out, but because you finally stopped fighting them. You realize you can be confused and calm at the same time. You can be lost and still grounded. You cannot know what comes next and still breathe fully. That's what surrender actually looks like. Not giving up, not shutting down, but staying with yourself when your mind wants to escape. Staying in the not knowing without turning it into a crisis. And little by little, you begin to trust that life doesn't need you to solve it in order for it to support you. You stop obsessing over timelines. You stop performing your healing. You stop thinking your way into worthiness. And instead, you just let the moment be enough, even when it's incomplete. And then something unexpected happens. Without the pressure to explain everything, you start to feel more like yourself, not the version of you that's always analyzing, fixing, checking in, not the version that's constantly asking, "What does this mean about me?" You start feeling like someone who exists outside of all that thinking. At first, it's strange because thinking gave you a sense of identity. It made you feel in control, smart, in touch, evolved. But underneath that, there's a person who doesn't need to monitor every moment to be safe. There's a version of you who's not asking whether you're doing it right. You're just living slowly, softly, and fully. You stop rushing to label every emotion as healing or not healing. You stop needing every experience to be a lesson. You stop turning your own presence into a performance. And for the first time in a long time, it feels quiet, not the scary kind of quiet, but the kind that feels like truth. You don't need to control the conversation anymore. You're not editing yourself mid-sentence. You're not evaluating whether your vibe is high enough. You're not reading the room for emotional danger every 5 seconds. You just are. And when you live like that, when you stop needing life to be understood before it's allowed to be experienced, you start noticing things you missed before. Tiny things. The sound of your breath, the space between thoughts, the way the light hits your wall in the morning, the way silence doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels full. You begin to realize that peace isn't found in having the answers. It's found in no longer needing them. It's not the end result of thinking hard enough. It's the reward of finally stopping the chase. And here's what might surprise you most. When you stop needing to figure everything out, a lot of things start making sense on their own, but you don't cling to that either. Because now you know that understanding is nice, but it's not what makes you free. What makes you free is not thinking about your life every second, just living it. And once you start living this way, not from your head, but from your presence, everything around you starts to shift too. Not because you're changing people or outcomes, but because you aren't wrapped around them anymore. You're not interpreting every pause in a conversation as rejection. You're not filtering every response to make sure it's safe and received well. You're not waiting for the perfect emotional conditions to finally feel grounded. You're just showing up unarmored. And that kind of presence, it lands differently. People can feel it even if they can't explain it. You're not guarded, but you're not exposed either. You're simply there. No performance, no managing, no agenda. And when you stop thinking about everything so much, your energy shifts. You're not dragging yourself through the day in your mind while your body tries to keep up. You're in your body, now. You walk slower, you eat without rushing, you rest without guilt. You're not multitasking your way through peace anymore. You're embodying it. And the weirdest part is you stop needing everyone to get it. You stop craving validation. You stop explaining your process. You stop trying to make your journey sound inspiring or impressive or correct because it's not a performance anymore. It's just your life. You don't need to keep track of every inner shift. You don't need to measure every emotion. You're not calculating your progress. You're not asking, "Am I getting closer?" Because now you're not reaching, you're receiving. And that's the shift. It's subtle, but it changes everything. You're no longer trying to master your thoughts. You're no longer trying to analyze your way to peace. You've realized that presence isn't built on clarity. It's built on trust. And trust doesn't need an explanation to be felt. You begin to notice how much time you used to waste thinking your way through life, thinking through love, through healing, through creativity, through rest, as if thinking was the only way to prove you were doing life right. But now you're not asking if this moment makes sense. You're asking if it feels real, if it feels alive, if it feels like you. And that's a question no thought can answer for you. Only your presence can. And then something even deeper begins to settle. Something you didn't even know you were missing. You start to feel safe, not because the world changed, not because you figured yourself out, but because for the first time, you're no longer fighting yourself in your own mind. You're not monitoring your reactions. You're not rewriting your thoughts before they've even finished forming. You're not tracking your every emotion like it's a threat. You're not running constant diagnostics on your soul. You're just existing without commentary, without judgment, without the need to narrate who you are in every moment. And in that stillness, you begin to feel something new, a trust in yourself that's not built on knowledge, but on presence. You don't need to explain yourself anymore, even to yourself. You don't need to decode your feelings before you allow yourself to feel them. You don't need to prove that you're growing or healing or evolving. You stop treating your mind like a courtroom. You stop interrogating every part of yourself to make sure it's valid. You stop asking life to give you answers just so you can finally relax. Because now you know you don't need the answer. You just need to stay with yourself through the not knowing. And ironically, that's where peace starts to feel permanent. Not perfect, but reliable. Like something that doesn't leave just because your thoughts get loud. Like something that doesn't disappear when life stops making sense. Because now, peace isn't something you're chasing. It's something you're grounded in. You've stopped needing everything to be understood before it's allowed to exist. You've stopped putting conditions on your own presence. You've stopped treating uncertainty like it's dangerous. And that's what changes everything. Because once your nervous system learns that it doesn't need to earn safety through explanation, it finally starts to rest, not just for a moment, but as a way of being. And maybe this is what you've been searching for all along. Not the perfect answer, not the ultimate realization, not the moment where everything finally clicks into place. Just this. A quieter you. A version of you that no longer has to understand everything in order to feel grounded. A version of you that no longer confuses control with peace, that no longer thinks healing means overanalyzing your every thought. Because, what if your breakthrough isn't something you think your way into? What if it's what shows up the moment you stop needing to have it? What if this isn't about reaching clarity, but about learning how to be okay inside the fog? What if being present doesn't mean you have it all together? It just means you stopped, abandoning yourself while you figured things out. You don't need to fix every thought. You don't need to understand every feeling. You don't need to create a life where nothing surprises you. You just need to keep showing up raw, aware, and fully here, even when it's messy, even when it's loud, even when your mind wants to make sense of it all. Because real peace isn't sterile. It's not perfect clarity. It's not an emotion you chase. It's a space you protect. And the moment you stop turning every question into a crisis, the moment you stop judging yourself for not knowing, the moment you stop reaching so hard for answers, you create just enough space for something true to rise. Not logic, not a strategy, not a thought. Presence. That's the thing you've been looking for this whole time, and now that you're not trying to grip it, it finally has space to arrive. So, if this video felt like a breath you didn't know you needed, leave a comment with the word trust. Let that be your quiet reminder that you don't have to know everything. You just have to stay with yourself while you don't. And if you want more space, more honesty, more of this, subscribe. This channel isn't here to give you all the answers. It's here to remind you that you never needed all of them to begin with. In the quiet moments between the chaos, there's a space where you can simply be. It's not a place you need to find, but rather a state of being you can allow yourself to inhabit. Imagine sitting by a calm lake, the water so still it reflects the sky perfectly. There's no need to disturb the surface, no need to throw stones to see the ripples. The beauty is in the stillness, in the reflection of the world as it is, not as you think it should be. This is where you can begin to understand the power of presence. When you allow yourself to be present, you're not ignoring your thoughts or feelings. You're acknowledging them, but you're not letting them control you. You're like the sky, vast and open, and your thoughts and feelings are like the weather, constantly changing. Some days it's sunny, some days it's stormy, but the sky remains the same. It doesn't try to change the weather, it simply allows it to be. This is the essence of presence. It's not about controlling your experience, but about allowing it to unfold naturally. As you practice presence, you'll begin to notice the subtle shifts in your experience. You'll start to feel more grounded, more connected to the world around you. You'll notice the small things, like the feel of the sun on your skin, the sound of birds singing, the taste of your food. These are the moments that make up your life. And when you're present, you're fully experiencing them. You're not lost in thought, not distracted by worries or regrets. You're here, now, fully alive. Presence is not something you achieve. It's something you practice. It's a way of being, a way of living. It's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about being open, being curious, being willing to experience life as it is, not as you think it should be. It's about trusting yourself, trusting the process, trusting that you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be here now, fully present, and as you practice presence, you'll begin to see the world differently. You'll see the beauty in the ordinary, the magic in the mundane. You'll see that life is not a puzzle to be solved, but a mystery to be experienced. You'll see that you don't need to have all the answers, that it's okay to not know. You'll see that you are enough just as you are in this moment. And that's the greatest gift of presence. It's the gift of being fully alive, fully human, fully you. So, take a moment now to practice presence. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and simply be. Notice the sensations in your body, the thoughts in your mind, the emotions in your heart. Don't try to change them. Don't try to control them. Just notice them, acknowledge them, and let them be. And as you do, you'll begin to feel the power of presence, the power of being fully alive, fully human, fully you. And remember, presence is not something you achieve. It's something you practice. It's a way of being, a way of living. It's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about being open, being curious, being willing to experience life as it is, not as you think it should be. It's about trusting yourself, trusting the process, trusting that you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be here, now, fully present, and that's the greatest gift of all.